We continued our journey with the goal of fixing towers to seal away hell. We needed to make our way to an island, and luckily we saw a village we could stop at to attempt to find a boat. But first, it's a dwarven riding ram. What? I 3D printed a mini and the DM let me find it in the game. What does it do? Mostly dodge and disengage while providing a slight movement bonus. Hey look, soldiers! I cast Fireball! While my first instinct was that the Warlock's madness had overtaken him, when the paladin joined, I noticed that they were actually disguised demons. I drew my bow, channeling destructive energy into the arrow. Boom! Exploded where I held it and blew off me pinky finger. As the combat continued, I observed my critical fumble left me with disadvantage on attack rolls, which would mean that with 3 attacks rolling 6 dice, I had a 1 in 4 chance of another fumble. I elected to simply leave the combat to my companions. An hour later, as we neared the village, the Warlock sprinted ahead of us. On a previous occasion where he had done this, he tried to steal our boat, so naturally I chased him. Keeping pace with my new mount's help, he made it into the village, drew his sword in madness, and charged at a priest performing a sermon on the street. His bloody cane pact again. The dwarvish god of law and war had made a pact with him before we met, and it was close to incinerating another bridge. Not for the first time, I readily drew my bow and shot him from behind. His eyes filled with a murky illusion I conjured, blinding him as I tackled him to the ground. As the rest of the party caught up, the lizard folk cleric, Verk, who I didn't name in the previous letter, my apology, bound the Warlock and slung him over his own back. Knowing it would be unwise to admit companionship with a man who had tried to kill their priest, I quickly thought up a lie. We are bounty hunters, and this slippery one has quite the reward. We apologize for our intrusion on this town. As I spoke, I noticed the town was occupied by soldiers who were clearly in the process of preparing for war.
We are bounty hunters?
Yes, because otherwise we would be companions to someone who tried to kill a priest.
We are companions to someone who tried to kill a priest.
Now I get to not be impressed. The leadership of the military oddly didn't comment on our words. I suppose that should have been my first clue. My second was the ram's eyes widening as I was forced to calm its sudden panic.
Perhaps you could do us a service, Bounty. We are going to an island west of here to rescue some of our captured comrades from evil forces.
Undead don't take hostages.
We have every reason to believe they are captured.
Hey Verk, we need to go to the island anyway. Let's offer our help.
Very well.
We boarded a boat the soldiers had prepared, and abruptly the Warlock woke up and began screaming, "Demons! Demons!" Madness is a sad thing, watching someone lose sight of reality to an evil god's influence, but it was hard to ignore the fact that Warlock's flame had and still could help us. Then the Warlock attempted to escape. He began speaking a magic word, but the cleric struck him hard enough to break his focus. I believe the word was mist, and the spell could have been used to step through a hole in reality. Looking back, I wish he had succeeded his first escape attempt. I and every other creature on the boat felt a chill run to our spine as he called upon his god's power. I recognize a spell. I was never a true wizard, but when I first dabbled in arcane enhancement, I was warned, as every mage is, not to do this. He conjured his god's spirits. Eyes glowed a bright orange, flame leaking from skin. The cleric threw him to the ground as his back blackened with ash. The paladin's magic blade came down and in an inconceivably bright burst put down the Warlock before he got the opportunity to use his new power. Then he exploded. The fire washed over the ship and I braced myself behind my wool, a fire-resistant material, cloak. Oddly, it didn't burn me or my cannons, only the crew, who were left at half health. When we landed on the island, I buried him after the cleric's ritual blessing to keep the bones from undeath. I can't say I didn't know this day was come, but I hoped we would finish the quest first. He was deceived, as all Cain worshippers were. I'd hoped he would make amends. Cain's fires are well suited for demon battles, but I suppose no evil force is capable of acting for good interests. His soul is clearly damned. I simply wish it weren't.
It's strange, isn't it?
What?
Only the crew was damaged from Cain's blast and we weren't.
I wasn't really thinking about that.
Something smells.
As I gave the eulogy, Cain's spirit possessed a golem on the island. Because there wasn't a natural point to introduce a new companion to the party, and Cain remained mad. The party and soldiers arrived at the third tower we needed to repair. A golem sheathed in flame and possessed by the spirit of Cain stood to guard it.
I thought we were going to save hostages. Why are we at the pillar?
We needed to be here regardless. Perhaps healing the pillar will free them. We could have have one and the same goals. Verk reached into the sky, channeling divine power, and placed it over the golem, holding it in place. I shot a rain of fire. The magic arrows absorbed into the tower, healing cracks and blemishes. I had used my action surge early to try and reduce the length of combat. I was a touch premature.
To free our kin, in the name of our god, the tower must fall.
It was like someone removed the wool from our eyes as we abruptly saw the deception. The tower loomed over us, filled with cracks and sigils of Cain and Sanctus carved long before the schism to keep demonic spirits captive. As the demons struck, I saw we didn't have time before it would fall. I pulled my next round of shots and aimed them carefully at the enemy leader. Luckily, the backdrop of the tower meant if an arrow missed, it would strike the tower instead and be absorbed. I dealt 30 damage. The cleric came into play and he performed a technique he called Turn and Sear Undead, damaging every undead and forcing most of them to flee from it. I think he dealt a total of more than 200 damage. Then the druid conjured a storm of fire that rained down on another group of them, striking 8, killing 4, and dealing another triple-digit amount of damage. It was about this moment I noticed the martial caster divide is worse than I'd realized, and resolved to spend more time studying the arcane. In an intense show of power, the golem freed himself and attacked the paladin. Crunching Mel could be heard, but the paladin stood despite his damaged armor. Then the golem returned to Verk and slammed him against the tower, pinning him down. The rest of the party continued to destroy the demon forces as the golem became the dominant threat. I stepped forward to appeal to the interests of the god, because my attacks were worth less than the rest of the parties. Cain, god of order, we have rescued and repaired your tower over this bell. We intend to restore your final tower to the south. In the name of the dwarven strongholds who hold true to you, and in the name of every other race that would be harmed by the demon's release, I ask that you let us go.
No.
God of order, my ass. I thought we were dealing with intelligent evil. I shot him with an arrow which sprouted, coating him in vines, movement penalty, providing Verk an opportunity to break away and flee. Never before had I so completely understood the dwarven lie that I had been pressing against. Dwarves were never lawful because our god of law with evil tendencies wanted order. Dwarves are lawful because our god of evil wanted loyal subjects. When worship of him was pushed underground, it created the motivation for chaotic worshippers, and the nature of dwarves grew in conflict. Any dwarf chaotic enough to continue worship loyally and break the words agreed upon in treaties is destined to notice the evil and turn away. He abandoned the race, and the underground worship was doomed to fade. There was one more tower to restore as we left. In-card thoughts. Making the dramatization of sessions is rough because I didn't actually see what parts would and wouldn't come into play. Like, we had an entire false Hydra fight. I cut it because it doesn't actually contribute to the total narrative beyond looting a bone pile to get studded leather for my character. The DM said the next session might be the last, and I might attempt a ground-up rewriting of everything with it complete. If I do that, I think I could divide the campaign into 3 20-minute episodes. The encounters with New Ramia, the change of king and subsequently being locked in hell, and the quest to restore the final pill. But then again, I might not get around to that. That's a pretty large project to take on. Buy my book and enjoy your day.